So this session is all about listening to ourselves. I'm going to go into detail what that means very shortly, but we're going to have 5 minutes of meditation first of all. So I'm not going to talk. Meditation is where we just allow a softening of the thinking mind and become more aware of what's going on inside. It can either be the breath, you can focus on the third eye. We are going to go through different techniques as this course goes on during the weeks. So we're just going to see what it's like just to sit there for 5 minutes. So don't worry, mind wanders, it's fine. So I'll just set my stopwatch. So taking some nice deep breaths, making sure we're sitting up as tall as we can, dropping the knees down. Hands can just be on the knees or wherever's comfortable. Now we've got 5 minutes starting now. And just coming to the end of 5 minutes. Well done. So keep the eyes closed and just have a couple of breaths where you just reflect on what that experience was for you. And there's never any right or wrong. So it might have been really slow, or it might have gone really fast. You might have noticed that your mind wandered about things that you've got to do from the rest of the day. You might be thinking about some past memories. You might have really been able to hold your own space. It's all completely different for everybody. So well done for that. Now we've been sat like this for a little bit of a while. We still need to do a little bit further work. Now, if you want to, you can cross your legs over or give yourself some wiggling around. So listening to yourself, what does that mean? So for me, and I can only really talk about my experience, I've got two kind of things that are going on in my mind. I've got like my chattery everyday thoughts, and I've got something that's a lot deeper that is actually, it feels like it is definitely underneath, and it's a lot more authentic, and it is a voice that comes through helping me guide my life into a more heart-centered place. And the more I do yoga, the more I meditate, the clearer that voice comes through, the stronger it is, and the more I've kind of acknowledged that it's something that I need to be listening to. And this top one, this kind of over chatty thinking voice, very connected to my ego, and it can be quite destructive, disruptive and destructive. Actually, sometimes it can be quite negative. And I think by doing meditation and yoga, it's just allowed me a little bit of space to acknowledge that. So what we're going to be doing is just trying to allow for that deeper voice to come through, and maybe you get the same kind of experience, or maybe you experience it completely different. That's all for you to explore, and I think that's one of the really nice things about it, actually, that everybody is different. So one of the things that we can do is bring one hand, doesn't matter which one, to the heart, and then one down here around the kind of the womb, or moving down just into kind of like the lower three chakras. We're still maintaining a really nice straight spine, dropping the shoulders down, making sure that with the jaw is nice and loose, so having a little bit of space in between the teeth. So normally we've got this thinking mind sort of barging in whenever we ask ourselves questions. How are we feeling? It's like, well, I'm tired, or I'm overworked, or I've got this to do and that. Let's try and navigate that away and try and speak to the more deeper, but still you, but this deeper part of yourself. So we're just going to ask ourselves how we're feeling, and then we're just going to take a few breaths and allow for something just a little bit deeper to answer. So just ask yourself that question. Excellent. Now it could take us a little while to understand how the body speaks to us. It might not be a direct answer, as in a word, or it could be a sensation, it could be a memory that comes up. There could be nothing, which is absolutely fine. I'm still working on understanding how my deeper connected self communicates with me. And if nothing comes up, maybe something will come up during our practice or during the rest of the day. Maybe you've not asked your body any of these questions before. So it'd be like, it may take a while for your body to answer. So we've asked ourselves how we're feeling. We may or may not have got an answer. I'm just going to ask ourselves, what do we need? And again, just having some really nice deep breaths so that you come into a more embodied answer. Yeah, and then just acknowledging whatever you got from that question. And we're just going to put the hands back onto the knees and bringing the awareness back to the breath. Excellent. So we're going to do a little bit of moving now. So we're going to swing the legs behind us and just moving our cushion out of the way. I'm just going to turn to the side, so feel free to stay at the front. We're just going to tuck the toes underneath. I'm just going to take my socks off so that you can see what I mean. And so we're staying on the knees. Let's keep the hands onto the mat first of all and just soften through the hips. The back is nice and long. And you might notice it's quite an intense burning sensation in the soles of your feet, or is it just me? And then we're going to see what it feels like just to bring the body more upright, feeling free to keep the hands back down. And then maybe coming up to a seated position. So we're deepening that stretch. And one of the key things about listening to yourself is recognizing how and where you want to work on your body. So if you're working here and you're like, well, I want to work here, this is where you are. And just accepting that, that's fine, that's good. Having that confidence to just acknowledge what the body is asking for and staying in that moment, that's very yin. Excellent. Let's just release the hands forward if you took them off the mat, and we're just going to take the weight forward and just flatten the feet. And keeping the feet flat, we're just going to take the weight back into the heels and just walk the hands so they're either side of the body, and then taking them a little bit further so that the fingertips, if you can get them, so you bring the hands underneath the shoulders so the fingertips are in line with the feet. And we're just going to lift the head up, opening through the chest and feeling a really nice opening. And if you want to, we can go for an ankle stretch where we lift up the knees. So we can listen to ourselves by noticing what kind of sensations are happening in the body. So it's one of the things that yoga is really good for us, is getting rid of that thinking, chatty mind, and allowing us just to sit with what's going on in the body. And it's very, very good for us. Excellent. We're coming back up and getting ourselves into tabletop. Feel free to just bang the feet if you feel like all the blood has rushed out of it, out of the toes. Maybe you want to curl the feet back under again. Please feel free to just explore what would feel nice for you, giving yourself permission to do the things. Excellent. And then come into tabletop. So we're just going to lengthen through the spine. We're going to keep the gaze down. Gently pull that belly button in. We can pull the pelvic floor in. See what that feels like. So pulling the perineum, so it's right in the center, in. And let's do that using the breath. So we're going to inhale and we're going to pull and exhale, soften. Let's see what that feels like again. Deep breath in, really pulling through the center, pulling up. So there's no movements, no external movements. It's all internal. Let's go for 3 more. Inhaling, pulling up. Obviously very good for your pelvic floor. And releasing. Again. And you could have a little bit of a hold right at the top of the inhale if you wanted to take it a little bit deeper. And release. And the last one. Excellent, well done. Now we're going to be moving the hands forward, coming into melting heart. So we're taking the hands forward and we're dropping the chest down towards the mat. So there's a lifting up of the tailbone. And you might want to just drop the forehead down onto the mat first of all. And we're going to take the fingertips a little bit further away to deepen that stretch. And as you breathe in and out, notice the subtle changes in the body. So obviously when we breathe in, the ribs are expanding. And you might be able to feel that in the back of the body. And then we're going to soften everything now. And if you can, lift up your head and bring the chin onto the mat. So there might be a little bit of a softening of the arms coming back, bending through the elbows. And as we're holding these poses, we're noticing what's going on in the body. We're looking for changes in the sensations, maybe. We're looking for maybe a deepening as we're holding. So in these holding poses, probably going to hold for about 15 breaths, and you don't need to count them at all. We're just going to see what it feels like just to hold. And we're working the deep connective tissues, which they need a little bit of a longer time to stress them. And the deeper connective tissues are anything that's not skin and muscles and internal organs, so everything else. So you've got your fascia, which is kind of a network, a grid that runs all the way around the body. Tendons, ligaments, and bones and joints. We're working all those to creating space between the joints to stress the connective tissues. Let's hold for 3 more breaths. And it's your choice whether you keep it nice and soft or you use the last 3 breaths to really get deep. So maybe you want to take the fingertips even further away, really dropping that chest down, really stretching out, and then slowly taking a few breaths to come back to tabletop. And then coming back into our center, neutral through the spine. And then we're going to take the right arm up on a deep breath in. So we've got this twist, and then exhale, posting it behind the left wrist, dropping the right shoulder down. And we're just going to move through these 2 poses, closing the eyes if you can. So inhale, stretching the arm up. Exhale, threading it through, dropping it onto that right shoulder. Maybe we drop the side of the head down. Keep going. It's nice and slow. And we'll do 1 more of each. So next inhale, stretching up. Maybe you take it deep that you possibly can, or keeping it nice and soft. And then exhale. We're just going to hold here with the right shoulder down, dropping the side of the head, and then soften everything. This left arm, you can have it where the wrist is bent with the elbow above the wrist. You can gently push in to the floor with this left hand. I can just take that stretch just a little bit deeper. We can extend that left arm. We're just gently hiding underneath the armpit. We can take that arm above. So notice where you can feel stretching. And this might restrict the way that you breathe. So notice things like that. And when we're holding in these poses, let's see if we can completely switch off and surrender. So you might have to give yourself a little bit of a checklist to do. So you might need to just release the jaw, drop the shoulders down, making sure that we're not holding tension in the feet, the legs, the knees, the hips, running all up your body, and then soften even further. Excellent, well done. And the next inhale, slowly coming back. Nice deep breath in. And then coming back to tabletop. So we've got a nice straight spine again. Maybe we give ourselves a little wiggle. That will feel really nice. You might want to round the back. You might just want to hold. We just acknowledge the deep stretches that we've done on that side, and then we're going to go on the other side. Now I'm going to turn around. You stay where you are. I don't have to have my back to you. So the left arm is coming up, deep breath in, lifting up, and then exhale, posting it behind the right wrist, dropping the left shoulder down. And because we're going in for a counter stretch, it might feel a little bit like you've not got as much room to move on this side. Still going with the inhales and exhales. Just be really gentle with yourself. So if you've twisted and held in one position, we held probably for about a minute, it's going to be some acknowledgements when you move into a counter twist. Well done. Let's do one more. Lifting up, maybe taking the fingertips. I always tend to go really like deeper for the last one. Obviously, you feel free to do whatever you want to do. And let's ground down through that left shoulder. Soften the side of the head down. And then do whatever we want to do with this right hand. Your choice. Looking for some really nice stillness. Closing the eyes as much as we can throughout our practice. You know, taking that stretch maybe a little bit deeper. Maybe, don't have to. You can surrender that left shoulder in. So anything that I offer you to do are just invitations. You can just be like, no, I'm here. This is good. Staying here. And we want more of that. Excellent. So let's take one more deep breath in, deep breath out, and then inhale, coming back to tabletop. I feel the need to twist round. This feels like the top edge of my mat more than that one. When it's weird. So we're back in tabletop. We have tucked the toes under. We've stretched out the soles of the feet, which is always a good thing to do. And let's get into a downward facing dog. So let's keep it nice and soft. So the knees are bent, heels are up, and just drop that head down. And we're just going to move through, bringing the chin in towards the chest and lifting up the head. So you can have a play around. Does it feel good when you inhale to lift the head forward and exhale to drop it down? Or is it inhale, bringing it in, and then exhale, lifting it up? Feel free to have a play around. And then doing one more. And then just coming to stillness. And we're just going to soften the knees a little bit further into straight legs. And just gently pushing the heels a little bit further towards the mat. If you've got your heels on the mat, you can push the heels into the mat, maybe gently lifting up the toes. And then we're going to drop the chest down. We're going to allow the head just to hang without any tension through the neck. And feel free just to acknowledge the work that the wrists are doing. You might want to lift one hand up, lift the other. Just exploring. And then we're going to inhale, lift up the heels, pushing the big toes into the mat. And exhale, softening the heels down a little bit further. Inhale, coming up. So we're just adding these little movements. Keep going. And notice what this movement does to the legs.
Excellent. And then just come into stillness, just for one breath. And then slowly walking the feet along the center line of the mat, one in front of the other, till you get to that point where you need to lift your hands up. And then let's widen the feet, coming into forward fold. I'm going to call it a dangle. It's a dangle, this one. So soft through the knees, just so that you can just drop the head down. Actually, the muscles are more engaged when you've got your knees bent. If you want to have a go at stretching out the legs, you might need to raise yourself up a little bit. It's fine. And there's never any kind of competition with like, oh, you need to get your fingers down towards the mat. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is how you feel. So allowing the shoulders and the arms to become really heavy. So we're separating that space between the shoulder blades even further. Now the head and the torso, it's very heavy. And we're using the body weight and gravity to maybe just get a little bit deeper. This is one of those that when you're holding, you should, probably after about 5 or 6 breaths, get a little bit deeper. Maybe we just move the head around. Lots of people get a really nice sense of release and relief in this pose. We don't want to be stretching the hamstrings out too much, but it's because we're allowing all this space in the body through gravity and body weight, like I mentioned before, through the torso. We're not putting any pressure onto the top part of the body, and we should feel a really nice release. And the head is gently pulling through the spine, creating space between the vertebrae. Keep going. You might want to come into ragdoll if that feels nice. You might be grabbing hold of the opposite elbows. You might want to move from side to side. You might want to take the fingertips around. That's something else that you could do. You might want to be bending through the knees, separate legs, just to help you go a little bit deeper. And then come into stillness just for this last breath. Excellent. So we're going to get ourselves into a squat. So I'm just going to turn to face you guys. Now you could use some props. So let's get into the more yang squat. So bending the knees, and you might have your heels up. Now, if that's the way that your body is, that's the way your body is. Now you might want to take your feet a little bit wider to maybe drop the heels down. We're going to bring the elbows and push them into the inside of the knees and drop the hands down, lifting up through the spine. If you want to use your props, you might need a stack of them. You just have them underneath. Just changes the way that we work in the body, that's all. And if we're thinking about it, we're still pushing the knees open, we're lengthening through the spine. Also working deep into the wrists here as well. And just be super aware if anything comes up from this deeper part of you. And I'm saying it's she, mine's a she. Sometimes she just pops in. I was reading this book recently by a sound therapist, and she comes from a very scientific background, and she couldn't quite acknowledge that it's your intuition. It's not something that she felt comfortable with, but she definitely become aware of thoughts coming in that kind of landed from somewhere else, and she called it
things coming in a post box. So looking at ways that you can kind of identify what that means to you, this different voice. And if what I'm saying just makes no sense at all, then that's cool. That's cool. Maybe you're just looking for some stillness, and we can still quieten down that thinking mind by focusing on yoga, breath work, meditation. Lovely. Let's have 3 more nice deep breaths here. Fantastic, well done. Now we're going to get ourselves onto our tummy. So releasing the hands and just bringing the knees down, softening the belly onto the mat. Let's come into baby cobra now. We've worked some spinal twists, you might notice. Some little twinges as you get down. Just give yourself a little bit of movement to maybe release any tension. Come into baby cobra. So the hands are just underneath the shoulders and we're looking forward and we're flattening the feet. And just allow the chest just to really become really heavy. So it's lifted up through the throat. We're looking forward. We've got our hands on the mat, but it's quite soft. So the lower back is doing lots of work. If you've got any issues with your lower back, just keep everything really low. You're looking for a deep compression sensation in that lower back. If you don't feel anything, you could lift up a little bit more. Just means that you're a little bit more flexible in the back. Please don't overstretch yourself or only go into a sensation. And then we're going to drop the right ear down and straighten the arms behind us. And we're completely relaxing here, closing the eyes, dropping the shoulders down. And taking some really nice deep breaths. So as we're lying on the front, the way that the body reacts to the breath coming in and out has changed. We're slowly going to get ourselves into locust. So we're going to bring the head forward and lift up the chest and keep the hands down. So we might want to come a little bit higher this time. Notice the difference between having the hands underneath the shoulders and having the arms long down by the side. See if you can relax the shoulders completely. And I'm going to drop the left ear down, having a complete relax here for 3 breaths. So this time we're going to add the arms, and all we do is just lift the arms up behind us, so the palms of the hands are facing up. And next breath in, let's bring the head forward, lift up the chin, lift up the chest as much as we want to, and just lift the hands off. So we're straightening the arms. If you want to work deep, you can push the fingertips away from the body. And the feet we're keeping down on the mat just for this one. See if you can soften through the legs. It can be quite challenging. And let's relax everything down, right ear down. So this time we're going to introduce the feet being lifted off the mat as well as the other 2 things that we've done.
Just keep the feet just up off the mat. Maybe it's only a few centimeters. So let's bring the head forward on the next inhale and lifting up the chin, then lifting up the hands, then lifting up the feet.
You could spread your fingers wide, you could push the fingertips back, you could bring the shoulder blades together, you could lift up your feet, or you could keep it nice and soft. Somewhere in between, maybe. Now we're going to have 2 more breaths. Well done. So let's drop everything down. I'm just going to bring the hands back underneath the shoulders and push into the hands, coming onto the knees, watching that lower back. And then widening the knees, but keeping the feet together and just settling back onto the heels, coming into a child's pose. But we're going to have the elbows bent, dropping the head down, and just bring the hands together behind you. Now you could have prayer hands. You could just grab hold of the wrists if you fancied that. You could soften the hands completely into the neck. But if you just take the elbows forward a little bit, just walking them, maybe that's going to deepen that stretch in the back. And just going over our checklist, our body checklist, making sure that we're not holding tension anywhere. Releasing on an exhale. And it's always really nice to introduce a sigh, because you'll notice that the body does relax. So you can have a nice, quite quick breath through the, an inhale through the nostrils and exhale out through the mouth. You could give it a little bit of a noise. You could be, ein. Whatever feels comfortable. And if you feel that deep stretch in the back started to subside, then take the elbows a little bit further away. See what happens if you do that. I'm going to hold it for 1 more minute. So this is a really nice posture for feeling safe, for softening down. And getting rid of any stress and tension in the body. Excellent, well done. I'm going to very slowly get out of this. So you want to bring the elbows in. And we're just going to get ourselves into a nice straight spine, keeping the knees wide. I'm going to come into a supported bridge. I'm going to use all the props that we have.
we're building a little bit of a tower.
Yes.
So we need to just drop the lower part of the back right at the bottom edge, and then just allowing the head to drop down, giving yourself just a little bit of maybe maneuvering of your props. Let's keep the knees bent first of all, and we want to really lengthen through the back of the neck. We can do that by pulling the chin in towards the chest. It's going to just gently just twist the skull. You'll notice that it lengthens the back of the neck. So this might be quite a weird sensation to hold. Just being really mindful of how that lower back feels. If you're feeling a little bit challenged, stay in this position with the knees bent and the soles of the feet on the floor. The hands could be on your tummy, they could be down by the side. If you're feeling quite comfortable, we can explore what it feels like to extend one leg and just checking in before we drop the other one. Maybe take your arms above your head. And we're really going to focus on the shape that we've created. Taking our breath deep into the belly. And we're looking to soften and surrender. So we can do this by focusing on the breath. So it's an inhale, feel that chest and the belly filling with air. As you exhale and soften down into the mat, into your props, into the pose, and into yourself. You might never have done yin yoga before. Yin yoga is specifically using the meridians to activate the flow of energy around the body. So it uses the acupressure on different parts of the body. You might feel it's not doing much. You just kind of holding here. You're doing a lot in the body, a lot in the deep connective tissues, like I mentioned before. But also trying to cultivate a stillness in the mind as well. If you feel like you're twitching, you want to move, see if you can just focus on the breath and soften as much as possible. Like meditation, it's definitely something that the more you do, the more you kind of get a grip of it. You think like the better you get at it. Now, there's lots of people who say that if you only do the fast moving, the yang practice, like the hatha and vinyasa and fusion, only half your practice, because yin is a really important part. That stillness, looking different parts of your body. And in yin, you can hold poses for up to 5 minutes, and doesn't tend to be a lot of moving apart from maneuvering into the poses. I'm just doing something slightly different this morning. So we're going to hold for 3 more deep breaths. So if you stretched out, slowly bringing one knee back up and then the other, acknowledging how the body's feeling, and then pushing into the soles of feet, just so that you can move your props out of the way and being really gentle, bringing the body back down onto the mats, nice and slow. And then we're going to do a really nice, gentle counter stretch. So let's bring one knee in, slowly feeling that rounding of the spine, and then the other. And then bringing the knees in as tightly as you can, a gentle rocking from side to side. And maybe you want to draw some circles with your hips. So we're going to keep the knees close to the body, and we're going to drop over onto the right side. And if you feel it's a little bit weird to have the inside of the left knee dropping onto the inside of the right knee, just have a little bit of space. So we're going to extend the right arm out as much as we can. So it's straight in front of us. Might need to just have a little bit of a move. And then we're going to add a little bit of movement with the breath. Now I've got a wall in the way, so I'm going to keep my elbow bent. And we're just going to inhale, open. If you've got enough room, you can extend that left arm. And then exhale, bringing it back. Inhale, open. And it doesn't matter if you bring the arm all the way down. Keep going. And let's do 3 more. And once you've done, coming into this fetal position on the right side, you might want to bend your elbows. Could get something soft underneath your head. Hold in here for a couple of breaths. So poses like this and child's pose are really good for just working on the nervous system, calming it down. And then we're going to go in for more of a twist. So we're going to bring this left shoulder back. And we might need to drop the left elbow down, just resting the hand onto the ribs. If the knees are rising up, do whatever you need to do. You could stretch out one leg, tuck the foot behind the other. We're trying to get that left shoulder down towards the mat. Don't worry if it doesn't go all the way. So listening to the body, what's going on, listening to the mind. So one more deep breath. So full inhale, full exhale. Yeah, and then bringing the knees up. Bring it back into the chest. And then we'll do the same on the other side. I'm just going to twist around. It's coming into the left side, fetal position first of all. Taking a nice deep breath, softening down, maybe a sigh, and extending that left arm in front of us. And then the right arm is coming over, whether it's bent through the elbow or it's straight, whatever works best for you. So we're opening up on an inhale, exhale, coming back. Doing 5 of these in total, nice and slow. Don't rush anything. Again, it doesn't matter if that elbow or the arm comes all the way down. It's this act of opening the chest is the thing that we're after. And then coming into that fetal position, we're having 3 breaths here. Excellent, well done. So we're going to drop this right shoulder back, trying to get it down towards the mat, keeping the knees where they are, doing whatever we want to do with the legs, maybe straightening out, maybe crossing the ankles, maybe straightening the right arm out. And then going deep within, closing the eyes if that's comfortable, softening the whole of the body down. Sometimes you can be not aware that you're holding on to different body parts. So soften the hips, soften that left leg, soften the right leg, left shoulder, right shoulder, face, eyes even. Excellent, well done. Let's have 3 more breaths. And slowly making your way back so that the knees are coming back to the center. Maybe just rocking the knees in towards the chest. And then it's time for Shavasana. So get as comfortable as you can. Something under your head, something under your knees, and something to cover you up. If you can get that tucked in around you, oh, beautiful. So Shavasana is one of the most challenging and important poses. Even if you think that you're not doing anything, we're allowing the body to process the energy channels that we've activated. So it's more to do with the meridians. We've got this moving around of energy, and we're just creating a little bit of stillness and silence for the body just to process what we've done. Now we've got to try and switch off everything. It's very, 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 very difficult. If you fancy just becoming aware of what's going on in the mind, if you want to really just focus on the body, combination of both, you might get some insights. Just notice and listen to what is going on, but switching off as much as you possibly can.
Beautiful work, well done. And just coming back into the body. Let's have 3 really nice deep breaths. Maybe adding just a tiny bit of movement, fingers and toes, ankles and wrists, shoulders. And give yourself a really big stretch. Maybe sneaking in, cheeky little yawn, and then slowly getting yourself up into a seated position like we started the class. Trying to keep the eyes closed, dropping the chin down, hands together. And let's think of one thing that we're really, really grateful for. Just reflecting on the practice as well. If anything's come up for you. And if you want to improve, I recommend that you do a little bit daily meditating and maybe some journaling. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Namaste. Well done. Thank you so much. So it'd be really nice to get your feedback if it was what you expected, if there's other things that you'd like me to put in. I think Karina originally said that she wanted me to do some sound work, but sound on Zoom is appalling. It's made for voices and it very much captures those particular sound waves. So when you've got something that's very deep and resonant, it's very, it comes in and out. And I've been like, no, I'm not doing that. We could do some humming maybe next time. We could get some energy flowing around if that's what you wanted to do. Just having to think about it. Maybe you could think about it next week if you wanted to, and let it just drop something into the chat.